Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Watkins Glen will ramp up enforcement in school zones in the coming weeks. Targeted attention will be made toward distracted driving and speeding. Big Fox's Matt Klein joins us from Watkins Glen with the reasons behind these increased patrols.
Good evening. Watkins Glen residents can expect a more strict enforcement of school zone speed limits following a September accident of an elementary school student along North Decatur Street.
I appreciate the proactive nature that the Village Police Department is taking.
Local police will soon be increasing school zone enforcement in the Watkins Glen School District. The announcement comes just weeks after an accident along Decatur Street when an 8-year-old boy was hit by a car while riding his bike to school. Luckily, the child only suffered minor scrapes and bruises, but the incident left its mark on the school district.
Any incident like that is traumatic, especially for a young student. I think that was the biggest harm in this situation.
Superintendent Kai DeLeva says Decatur Street gets extremely busy in the mornings, with residents and students trying to get to school and work on time.
When, you've got backed up traffic in a school zone and you've got people who need to get to work and students who need to get to school, sometimes that leads to people being in a rush to get where they need to go.
Despite the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit, residents I spoke with off-camera say it's not uncommon to see drivers speeding. Officers will be focusing on speeding along with distracted driving and other traffic violations. DeLeva says it's important for drivers to be cautious when driving in a school zone.
As a former football coach, you want to keep your head on a swivel and make sure you're knowing where your surroundings are. Matt
Kleindon's Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
The Elmira Police Department will hold the city's first ever gun buyback event on October 28th. The event is part of the police department's Stop the Violence campaign to lower the number of illegal guns in the city. Residents can turn in as many guns as they like with no questions asked. All guns collected must be unloaded and transported in a plastic bag or box in the trunk of your car. Police will give residents $250 for assault rifles, $150 for handguns, $75 for shotguns or rifles, and $25 for non-working or antique guns. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has been saying to get the COVID-19 vaccine and it can save your life. And new data backs up those claims. According to the CDC, unvaccinated adults are 11 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than fully vaccinated adults. They also face 6 times higher risk of testing positive. With the number of COVID-19 cases dropping, the risk of unvaccinated people dying from the virus has also dropped, but the risk of hospitalization among that group has continued to climb. Almost 2 years into the pandemic, the mental strain and demanding work has left educators and healthcare workers battling compassion fatigue. It's left many of them questioning their purpose or second-guessing if anyone notices their effort. Emily Tenser shares their struggles and how you can help.
At the start of the pandemic, healthcare workers and educators felt the community support. They were touched by the homemade thank you cards, the free meals, and the kind words. But now the challenges of the pandemic have taken a toll on their mental health and motivation. Intermountain Medical Center ICU nurse Janine Roberts does her best to stay optimistic, but she knows the hard work is far from over.
We are in the long haul. This is the long haul.
As COVID-19 cases seem to be ramping back up, she's noticed nurses and doctors struggling with compassion fatigue.
It's where healthcare providers, caregivers begin to distance themselves and, emotionally are damaged from maybe moral, ethical, just struggles of, how long can I keep doing this? There's so much pressure to perform.
And with misinformation and mistrust in medicine, she can feel community support wavering.
On social media, on public posts, things like that, I've just lost it because people aren't supportive. They're very distrusting.
As for educators, Heidi Matthews with the state's Education Association says exhaustion varies by district.
The fatigue comes when you're not seeing the progress or you're not being able to achieve what you know is what our kids need.
She says safety concerns, additional responsibilities, and staffing shortages are taking a toll on teachers. They stress for their students, but also their loved ones.
They care about their students. They care about their students' families, but they also have their own families and their own circumstances. And finding that balance has been really difficult for everyone.
If your life has returned relatively normal, they ask you to think of those still fighting in the thick of it all.
Reach out to them and thank them. And it doesn't have to be fancy, but just let them know that they are in a really tough career right now. And the fact that they have remained in it for whatever period of time is really special. And it does take a special kind of person.
Both Roberts and Matthews say their employers have recognized that mental health resources need to be available for teachers and nurses during this time. Reporting at Intermountain Medical Center, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Having trouble finding your usual items at the store? Well, retail sales are up, and economists say there's good news and bad news with that. But overall, inflation is hitting many Americans in the wallet. Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
Some surprisingly good news from the Commerce Department. Consumers opened up their wallets more in September than expected. Retail sales are up 0.7%, beating estimates of a decline. And compared to last year, sales are up 13.9%.
There's a good side to what's going on. People are spending more than they've ever spent before. And there's a bad side to what's going on. When everyone spends more than they've ever spent before, that drives prices up.
That bad side comes in the form of emptier shelves and higher prices. Inflation is near 30-year highs.
This is the time where producers are going to say, you know what? We're not going to eat this in our margins. We're going to start passing this to consumers.
However, employers are having a hard time finding employees. The sluggish labor report last week backs that up. Fewer truck drivers are available, and there's a backup of goods at sea. President Biden reached a deal with labor unions and the Port of Los Angeles to run through the night to bring ships in and move products faster. Still, a lack of workers is having a real impact.
It's harder for people to go to work because of the COVID rules. It's easier for people to stay home because of the labor rules.
And some say the president's proposed spending plan will make already bad inflation worse.
This is a healthy, flush American consumer, I would say in no need of another multi-trillion-dollar intervention from Washington.
A decrease in COVID cases may be helping consumers feel more confident in spending. The White House continues to push vaccinations as a way to get the economy back on track. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Fire officials continuing to fight that big fire in Santa Barbara County. It broke out on Monday, and as of Thursday night, it was only 11% contained. Claudia Buccio reports.
Now that winds are calming down, efforts to control the Alisal fire are coming from the skies.
First couple days, those winds were blowing pretty hard down canyon, and that was creating a problem as that fire was pushed down that canyon at a rapid rate, and it was able to keep spotting up to a quarter mile ahead of itself.
About 1,300 personnel are working late nights, early mornings, everything it takes to contain this wildfire, which includes understanding the terrain.
Every canyon along the Gaviota coast is a little different. One canyon, the winds could be calm. The next one, the winds can be howling down canyon. So everyone's a little different. So that's the problem we have here is the fire starts to move laterally, both to the west and to the east. But as it moves to the east, it hits the Sherpa fire that burned about 7 years ago.
Firefighters are driving up and down Highway 101 to hold down those hot spots.
We're really trying to hit it hard from the air, and we're coordinating that air effort with the ground crews that are currently on scene.
But the game changer are aircrafts.
Everything from the large aircraft, which is the DC-10, we have a pair of those working. We have some smaller British Aerospace 146s. Those are the smaller with the two little engines on each side. And we have some Erickson MD-7s, which have the two little engines on the back that are bright orange and green. You see those as well. And they all are refilling their retardant at the Santa Maria Airport.
Choppers are fueling up at the Gaviota coast, making their way to carefully mapped areas.
These are the rotor wing aircraft. We have some heavy helicopters. A Chinook helicopter can drop 1,000 gallons, and we have other helicopters that can drop, smaller buckets full of water and pinpoint accuracy. And those are filling up off the Pacific and dropping and dousing on a lot of those hot spots in those deep-seated canyons.
Watkins Glen Village Christmas is coming back to help bring in the holiday season. The annual Christmas parade is being hosted for the first time since 2019. The event will close down Franklin Street to allow for vendors and the parade party to set up shop. Watkins Glen Christmas will take place on December 10th. A New York woman is back with her dog tonight after the cockapoo was trapped in a crevice for 5 days. Rescuers weren't sure if they'd be able to get the dog out until one woman was able to fit in that narrow space. Scott McGee has the story.
To truly understand how remarkable this moment is, you have to see what it took to get to it.
It was an effort to get in there.
There is about 40 feet down this narrow crevice. And after multiple days and multiple attempts, it turns out Jessica Van Ord with the New Jersey Initial Response Team was the only person small enough to fit between the narrow rocks.
It wasn't consistent. Like, it wasn't a matter of, can I fit through something this big? It was, can I fit through something shaped like this and then make it out the other side?
By the time Jessica made her attempt, little Liza had been down there for 5 days. They weren't sure she was even alive until they used a plumber's camera to peer into the depths and saw her licking water off the walls.
When we finally got sight of the dog, it really was a cheer of joy.
Liza was alive, but they still had to get her out.
There's definitely a specific headspace involved. It's a head game. Just staying calm and keeping at it.
Keep at it they did. Jessica eventually lassoing Liza, bagging her up and getting her back to the surface and back to her owner.
There she is. She was absolutely thrilled, just absolutely elated that she was able to get her dog back.
Still ahead tonight, former President Bill Clinton hospitalized after being diagnosed with a urinary tract infection.
About 25% of all sepsis cases start as urinary tract infections, and then it proceeded to the blood.
How this could be dangerous and potentially deadly. Also, what signs to look out for coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. We did have a warm front lift to the north. Temperatures today really started to soar out ahead of our next cold front. Clouds started to move in. We did have a few showers as well, but the low and the cold front that will bring a big change to our weather is located in the Midwest and will continue to move to the northeast toward the Twin Tiers. And once it moves here, those temperatures will be plummeting. So for tomorrow, we are expecting some drenching rain and then a few lingering showers on your Sunday. It will be windy and chilly on Sunday, so get ready for that. So for tomorrow, this cold front will cross right through the Twin Tiers, heavy rain out ahead of it, and rain will start to taper off right behind it. The winds will start to pick up as well, and we are expecting a very gusty conditions for your Sunday. We're talking about winds coming in from the north, ushering in much cooler conditions. So we're going to be plummeting down even from Saturday into your Sunday. We're talking about 10 to 15 degrees cooler as we end the weekend. So for tomorrow, temperatures will be warming up into the 60s or stay in the upper 60s as we start off the day. And then as we head through the afternoon, those temperatures will slowly drop down. So we'll be down into the lower 60s by lunchtime and then in the 50s in the late afternoon into the evening hours. Again, there will be some periods of drenching rain as well, but the biggest difference that we will feel is that the drier air will start to really filter in. So our dew points have been in the 60s and it felt a little bit humid out there, but by the weekend and into early next week, those dew points will drop down into the 30s. The lower the dew point, the drier the air mass, and so that's what we're going to have by early next week. So showers mainly tonight, and then heavy rain could be possible as we head into the early morning hours. At 8 o'clock, it looks like very heavy rain from Corning into Elmira. As you can see, the red that's showing up, and then it's going to be periods of heavy rain throughout the day. by 8 o'clock, I think that as that cold front starts to move to the east, I am expecting the rain activity to taper off a little bit. There will be a few lingering showers, though, from Sunday morning into the afternoon. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty wet weekend. Temperatures tonight still mild, though, in the mid to upper 60s. Highs tomorrow won't even warm up all that much. 68 degrees, the high in Corning, 66 in Elmira. Your extended forecast calls for temperatures that will be diving down by 10 degrees on Sunday, 57 degrees on Monday. We are going to see a little bit more sunshine. A couple of dry days before another cold front comes in. We do gradually warm up close to around 70 degrees on Wednesday, and then another front will bring those temperatures back down for next weekend.
Former President Bill Clinton is said to be recovering after he was admitted to a hospital for a urinary tract infection that spread to his bloodstream. Thousands of older men are diagnosed with UTIs every year, and it can be dangerous, even deadly, if it leads to sepsis. Mandy Gaither has more on the signs to look out for in today's Health Minute.
It's a medical emergency, especially in an individual over the age of 65.
After a few days in the hospital, former President Bill Clinton is said to be on the mend. Doctors say the 75-year-old developed a urinary tract infection which spread to his bloodstream, a dangerous illness called sepsis.
About 25% of all sepsis cases start as urinary tract infections, and then it proceeded to the blood.
Urinary tract infections are common in older people but can be difficult to diagnose. Some symptoms include confusion, weakness, and muscle aches.
Left untreated, it has a very high mortality rate.
Early detection is key to the easily treatable infection. Doctors were able to administer antibiotics and fluids to help Clinton. While urinary tract infections are most common in women, thousands of men get them every year, possibly due to incomplete emptying of the bladder or hygiene challenges. The risk of infection increases with age.
It just goes to show you how fragile things can get as you get older, and you have to be alert to telltale signs of extreme fatigue or fever or shivering or cold.
The former president's infection appears to have been caught early. Doctors say he will likely be switched to oral antibiotics soon. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A 5-year-old victim of a house fire was picked this week to lead the Miami Police Department for a day. Ryan Young has more on the child's story.
Meet Miami's newest police chief. Let's salute him. Like any good commander, he checks in with the troops. TJ Mack was bestowed the department's highest honor for a day, enjoying the full privileges of running the department.
The helicopter ride will be the first thing to give you an aerial view of your city.
It was a dream come true for this 5-year-old who loves superheroes.
You having a good time so far?
Yeah. It's amazing, yeah, because it's like a dream for him.
Chief Mack is a fighter. You can still see the burns that cover much of his body. Back in April, TJ's mother was able to shield her son as they escaped the fire consuming their apartment. And sadly, TJ's mom died from her injuries, leaving the little boy without his mom and a long road to recovery.
It brings joy to my heart because just watching him every day, knowing that his mom's not here, trust me, it hurts.
The Miami Police Department is creating long-lasting memories, touring his home city, visiting the aquarium, meeting the Miami Dolphins, and getting one special ride.
It's the feeling that we've been wanting to accomplish. Someone said that the police departments were there in the bad times, and it feels good to be there in the good times as well.
The 5-year-old chief has already been through so much, with 17% of his body burned, and more than likely many surgeries ahead, but he's already had a special moment in blue.
All right. It's amazing. God is good.
A new Halloween sausage from a Wisconsin meat market is getting a lot of attention. The Spooktoberfest brat has 3 ingredients: pork, beer, and candy corn. Jeannie Mose reports on the unique combination.
Meet the latest meat. See those little orange things in the bratwurst? It's candy corn. That's what they're selling for $4.99 a pound at the Jennifer Street Market in Madison, Wisconsin. The main ingredients: pork, beer, and candy corn.
Somebody said that this should be a felony offense, so I don't think I've done anything wrong, though.
Spooktoberfest brats is what the market calls them. Slightly sweet and not scary at all. Wrong, says this hot dog gif. This is a war crime.
Certainly not.
WMTV morning anchor Tim Elliott described himself as one of the first guinea pigs to taste what he calls the Frankenweenie.
I mean, it was good. It was salty and sweet. The candy corn actually melts when they heat it up, so it kind of disperses the sweetness throughout.
But don't expect the insults to be dispersed. WTF is wrong with the American Midwest. The meat manager at the Jennifer Street Market says they often experiment with their brats. They've had duds.
We did try one with root beer. We also tried a loaded baked potato that did not do very well.
The candy corn brats seem to fit right in with Fruit Loops Pizza from Iowa, and even Nabisco has put candy corn in limited edition Oreos. And before you say this candy corn brat is the worst, at least taste the bratwurst.
Delicious. I ate a whole brat, the whole thing. I wanted another one.
A painting by street artist Banksy sold for $25 million on Thursday, according to auctioneers at Sotheby's of London. That's a very impressive price when you consider it's really just half a painting. When the original, called Girl with a Balloon, made its debut, it began shredding itself as soon as it was sold for $1.4 million. 3 years later, with only half of it left, the piece was retitled Love is in the Bin. And as it turns out, the value has increased by more than $23 million. Sotheby's believes the half-destroyed painting, quote, encapsulates the spirit of our time. A beekeeper in Maine is generating a lot of buzz. She's been maintaining hives since she was 6 years old. Now 9 years old, she's developed a real talent. Spencer Roberts went to meet her.
It's sugar water. I like the buzz they make. It's so calming.
She showed no fear. She just got right in there and really enjoyed it.
Elizabeth Downs was just 6 years old when her mother brought her to see a beehive.
Our friend who helped us get into gardening, his neighbor had a hive, and I figured it'd be something she'd be interested in.
And I was like, sure, I'll check it out.
She wore an adult suit her first time. It was very big for her.
But then once I got into it, I really liked it.
3 years later, she's in charge of caring for 5 hives out on their lawn.
I had 6, but I had to combine 2 because one wasn't doing so well. We don't want to go too far.
I'm the muscles, she's the brains, and so I help her lift things. I've learned a lot from her, and when she wants to try something new, we try it.
Elizabeth has advocated for legislation restricting the use of chemicals that harm bees, and even helped create a new board position for the Penobscot County Beekeepers Association.
So she's now the youth outreach coordinator. She helps educate, get into the schools.
I like when I pull out a frame of honey. It sounds cool, and I like the smell. It uses a lot of your 5 senses. Like when you get 1 pound of honey, a lot of bees have to make that 1 pound.
Elizabeth keeps some of the honey, but most gets sold. She uses the money to improve her beekeeping operation, and she also donates to charity.
The church needed another roof, so because it was leaking, so I donated some money for that.
Everybody just wants to see her succeed, so it's been amazing.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. A Puerto Rico man upset with potholes on many of the streets is raising his voice in a very creative way. This is Pink Bubbles, a character brought to life by the visual artist. He paints around potholes wearing a pink outfit with a mask, a cape, and a chest shield with the letters PB. He wants to alert drivers to avoid the potholes and get the attention of public officials to take action to repair these streets. The Puerto Rico Department of Transportation recently said it received just over $200 million for the maintenance of the island's highway system. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.